is Rebecca Rush, and this evening I'm going to be talking to you about GMOs. So, we all hear about GMOs. We go to the grocery store, we see the non-GMO labels, but what exactly are GMOs? Should we be concerned, and could they actually be beneficial? I personally believe that GMOs are good. A lot goes into how they affect us, the consumers, and the environment. But first, let's look at what are GMOs. GMOs are genetically modified organisms. This refers to the genetic material that's been altered using genetic engineering. Genetic engineering has several different techniques where the genetics of an organism or a line of organisms could be altered. First, there's traditional. This is the most basic form of genetic engineering. This is a series of cross-breeding and line breeding to get the desired trait. This takes generations upon generations to develop the organism that you are looking for. There is manipulation. This is actually changing the data of an organism. This is what people typically think of when they think of genetic engineering. This is taking the genetic information from one animal and putting it in another. There's cloning, which is identical copies, where you have two organisms with the exact same DNA. And then there is xenografting. This is actual tissue transfer. You can think of this like skin grafting, except between organisms rather than with one individual. This is commonly seen in trees, fruit trees specifically, where one branch will have a different fruit producing than all the other branches. So, if this can be beneficial, why do people fear GMOs? Anti-GMO activists believe GMOs are harmful to the environment and consumers. This idea generally comes from the amount of glyphosate that is used around crops, specifically genetically modified crops. For those of you who don't know, glyphosate is one of the main ingredients in Roundup and is the herbicide that kills all the weeds that you put Roundup on. As GMOs, or according to As You Sow, as the number of GMOs used went up, the amount of glyphosate used went up. This makes sense because genetically modified organisms, specifically Roundup-ready crops, are able to be resistant to this glyphosate, and farmers are able to spray the weeds around them without harming their crops. And this typically scares people, but glyphosate has very low toxicity in terms of people, is only slightly toxic to birds, and is virtually non-toxic to fish, aquatic invertebrates, and honeybees. And this is all according to the EPA. The EPA has done many studies and they have many regulations on who can use glyphosate and where. And this is some of the information that they have found. So, if glyphosate isn't harmful and GMOs could be beneficial, and how are some other ways that they could be beneficial? Not only in terms of glyphosate. They can be insect and drought resistant, which of course decrease the amount of pesticides needed. This helps stabilize and maintain insect populations in an area. You're not killing all of the insects, you are letting them live and allowing the natural predators to maintain the populations of what we call pests. GMOs also allow for more uniform crops and better yields. This both helps with efficient harvesting. Whenever crops are all at the same height, it makes it easier on the machines. And with the world hunger, if there is, and growing population, if there is more crops, more food, people are able to spread that around more. GMOs also encourage no-till farming. No-till farming is a very popular technique that prohibits the use of plows. Plows are a very common non-chemical way to maintain your weed populations by turning up the dirt and exposing the roots, allowing them to dry out, killing the weeds in their younger stages. But no-tilling allows for less erosion and helps maintain water usage. So in this setting, the erosion in water used, you know what? Okay. So to sum up, the no-till farming is very beneficial, and GMOs help promote that. GMOs also help reduce the amount of CO2 emissions. When tractors run, they burn a lot of fuel, and not having to run a plow through a field helps lower those costs. So, according to the Genetic Literacy Project, there is using the no-till farming actually reduces CO2 by 28 billion kilograms per year of CO2 emissions. This is equivalent to shutting down about 7.4 coal-fired power plants. So that is a lot of CO2 emissions that we're preventing by using GMOs. In conclusion, I believe that GMOs are the future of agriculture. They're proven to be safe. They provide good quality crops. They increase yield. As with all technological advances, there are pros and cons. But in this case, I believe that the pros outweigh the cons, and that GMOs are the perfect compromise for those of you looking for quality, environmentally friendly, and efficient products. Thank you.